you don't have a bad memory. You have a tired one. Somewhere along the way, you started noticing the gaps, names slipping away seconds after you hear them, thoughts dissolving before you can finish them, moments that feel important but later arrive only as fragments. And quietly, without saying it out loud, you began to worry that something in you isn't working the way it should. You tell yourself to focus harder, to try more, to pay attention, but the harder you push, the more your mind seems to scatter. And that tension, that constant effort to hold on, only makes the forgetting feel heavier. What if the problem isn't your memory at all? What if it's the way your mind has been forced to operate? Memory isn't a storage box. It isn't a shelf where facts sit neatly waiting to be retrieved. Memory is a living process. It's something your brain does, not something it has. And like any process, it depends entirely on the conditions it's operating under. Your brain doesn't remember everything it encounters. It remembers what feels meaningful, safe, and integrated. When your nervous system is overloaded, memory becomes selective in a very specific way. It prioritizes survival over detail. It keeps what helps you move forward and quietly lets go of the rest. Think of your mind like a room filled with air. When the room is calm, sound travels clearly. A single voice can be heard, understood, remembered. But when the room fills with noise, overlapping conversations, constant alerts, emotional tension, nothing lands long enough to echo. The sound isn't gone because the listener is broken. It's gone because the environment won't let it settle. This is what's happening when you feel forgetful. Your mind is not failing, it's filtering. Modern life demands constant alertness. You're asked to absorb information while emotionally regulating yourself, reading subtle social cues, managing stress, and planning what comes next all at the same time. Your brain adapts by shifting into a mode that values speed and responsiveness over depth and retention. That adaptation keeps you functioning, but it comes at a cost. Memory needs stillness to form. It needs moments where information can sink below the surface, connect to existing patterns, and become part of your internal landscape. Without that space, experiences pass through you instead of staying with you. Imagine memory as wet clay. If you keep touching it, reshaping it, pulling it back up before it dries, it never hardens. It never becomes stable. It stays soft and temporary. Your mind has been asked to keep everything wet, always ready to move, always responsive, never allowed to set. And then you blame yourself for not remembering. What you're experiencing isn't forgetfulness, it's misalignment. Your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do under pressure: reduce load, conserve energy, and focus on what feels immediately relevant. In environments that are loud, fast, and emotionally demanding, memory becomes a background function, not a priority. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes perfect sense. Early human memory wasn't designed to catalog random information. It was designed to track meaning, patterns, threats, relationships. The brain remembered what helped the group survive, who could be trusted, where danger lived, what signals mattered. Memory thrived in rhythm, in repetition, in shared attention, not in constant interruption. Your mind still operates on that ancient system, even though the world around you no longer does. So when you're flooded with input that lacks emotional grounding or personal relevance, your brain doesn't register it as worth keeping. Not because it can't, but because it's protecting its resources. This is where the misunderstanding begins. You've been taught to see memory as a personal skill, something you either have or don't, something that reflects intelligence, discipline, or effort. But memory is contextual. It emerges from how safe, present, and integrated you feel when information arrives. When your body is tense, your memory narrows. When your mind is rushed, your memory fragments. When your attention is split, your memory dissolves. That's not a flaw, it's a signal. Your mind is telling you that it's been operating in a state that doesn't support retention. Not because you're incapable, but because you're overloaded. There's a subtle grief that comes with this realization, a sense that you've been fighting yourself instead of listening, that you've been trying to force clarity in conditions that make clarity impossible. But there's also relief in understanding that nothing is broken. Nothing needs to be fixed. Your memory isn't weak, it's selective, and it's waiting for alignment. Think of your brain like a library. When it's calm, the lights are on, the shelves are organized, and the librarian knows exactly where things belong. But when the building is under constant renovation, alarms ringing, people rushing through, shelves being moved, the librarian shifts focus. The priority becomes keeping the place running, not cataloging new books. Your mind has been under renovation for a long time. Once you stop treating memory as something to force, something to optimize, something to demand, it begins to return on its own, not as effort, but as presence, not as technique, but as resonance. You'll notice that you remember things effortlessly when you feel emotionally connected, when something moves you, when you feel safe enough to slow down. That's not accidental. That's memory working the way it was always meant to. The most powerful improvement to memory doesn't come from tricks or hacks. It comes from reducing the conditions that suppress it, from recognizing that your mind remembers best when it's allowed to feel whole, not pressured. And this shift changes how you see yourself. You're not someone with a bad memory. You're someone whose memory has been operating in survival mode. When the pressure eases, memory doesn't need to be trained. It wakes up. If this resonates, there's something else worth exploring: the quiet relationship between memory and emotional safety. How the moments you forget and the ones you remember vividly reveal what your nervous system has been protecting you from.